Several years ago, a well-known medical doctor and an outspoken proponent of a vegan diet suffered a fall in his bathroom. Sadly, the accident left this man with a fractured pelvis, broken femur, and other injuries. An unfortunate incident like this would normally spark nothing but sympathy, but in this case, it actually stirred a heated debate. That's because this doctor had used his considerable platform for many years to preach that the best bone-building diet is one based on starchy carbohydrates and complete avoidance of animal foods. As you're about to learn, the science appears to suggest the opposite. So it should come as no surprise that a fair number of critics were quick to point out that a minor fall in the bathroom should not produce enough force to snap the strongest bone in the human body, which is the femur. And of course, there were quite a few refrains of "we told you so." Now, it's certainly not my intention to make light of anyone's misfortune, and I'm glad to report the doctor did recover from his injuries. But it's worth investigating what role his diet might have played to weaken his bones and reduce his mineral density. Fractures are a major cause of morbidity and low quality of life as we age, but that's not all. In fact, having a hip or a vertebral fracture also increases risk of death by 20% over and above what's expected in the 5 years following a fracture. That's why maintaining bone density is critical. And while many plant-based proponents preach that a vegetarian diet is a cure-all for chronic, including osteoporosis, the research tells us a much different story. I'm Nick Garcia, holistic nutritionist and health coach at The Health Report, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the best nutrients for bones. Did you know that vegans have double the risk of fractures of meat eaters? A recent study published in BMC Medicine evaluated over 50,000 subjects in the UK. Among the participants, roughly 29,000 ate meat, 8,000 ate fish, but not meat, 15,000 were vegetarians, and 2,000 were vegans when the study began. The researchers followed up with the participants continuously for 18 years. During this time, 4,000 of the subjects experienced bone fractures. The results showed that meat eaters had the lowest risk of fractures among all the groups, while vegans, you guessed it, had the highest. In fact, vegans were 43% more likely to have a broken bone. And when it came to hip fractures, vegans were nearly 2.5 times more likely to experience this life-altering injury. According to the lead researcher, Dr. Tong, this study showed that vegans who on average had lower BMI as well as lower intakes of calcium and protein than meat eaters had higher risks of fractures at several sites. So, nutrients for bone health, how a nutrient-poor diet increases the risk of osteoporosis. It's well known that vegetarian diets contain lower amounts of calcium, vitamin D, vitamin B12, all of which play vital roles in maintaining your bone health. So let's take a look at how each of these nutrients found abundantly in an omnivorous or carnivorous diet help to protect bone health as we age. Calcium, known as the bone nutrient. And despite the fact that we've been told that calcium supplements are beneficial, studies show that supplementation does not actually reduce fracture risk. However, calcium-rich foods such as milk and yogurt, ideally from organic grass-fed sources, have been shown to have bone loss prevention benefits. The reason? Dairy foods contain a spectrum of other important nutrients, including vitamin D, protein, potassium, and magnesium that work synergistically to promote healthy bones. Another great source of calcium that's often overlooked, small fish with bones, such as sardines and mackerel, as well as canned or pouched wild salmon. All right, next up, vitamin D is another well-known nutrient that enhances mineralization and bone formation. As you probably know, vitamin D3 is obtained from animal sources like fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified high-quality milk. And in much lower quantities as vitamin D2 from plant sources, most notably mushrooms that have been exposed to UV light. Your best source of vitamin D is still regular to moderate sun exposure without burning, of course. And now we have vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is available in its natural form exclusively from animal products. Therefore, deficiency is extremely common among vegetarians and vegans. And there is significant research which shows the value of this important nutrient in osteoporosis prevention. An analysis of 4 studies published in the Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism showed a 4% lower fracture risk for in regards to blood levels of vitamin B12. There are 3 other studies that I won't go into in this video, but I'll put them in the description. So low vitamin B12 can also lead to elevated homocysteine, a dangerous inflammatory marker associated with fracture risk, possibly due to its impact on weakening collagen cross-linking. Elevated homocysteine is also strongly correlated to cardiovascular and neurodegenerative diseases. Optimize your vitamin B12 by enjoying grass-fed beef, bison, and lamb, as well as grass-fed liver, wild seafood, pasture organic eggs, and grass-fed organic dairy. Zinc is up next. Zinc is a mineral associated with an omnivorous or carnivorous diet that is frequently inadequate in many vegetarian and vegan diets. It also is well known to promote bone health. So it's no surprise that lower bone and serum concentrations of zinc are found in patients with osteoporosis. Protein, of course. For many years, it was purported that a high protein diet can lead to calcium loss and contribute to lower bone mineral density. However, more recent studies show that a higher dietary protein intakes, not lower, were associated with greater bone mineral density and lower risk of fractures. For optimal protein intake, include like meats that I've already mentioned, grass-fed meats, or wild seafood, organic chicken, and that type of stuff. And finally, omega-3 fatty acids. Essential fatty acids, including omega-3s and some 6s, exert important influences on bone health via metabolism and inflammation. Vegetarian diets are notoriously high in omega-6 fatty acids and low in omega-3s. This can cause an inflammatory state that increases the risk of osteoporosis. Remember, you want to have a higher ratio of 3s and you want to try to limit your 6s and 9s because you're just going to get a lot of those in the standard American diet. It's important to note that vegetarian sources of omega-3s do exist, including walnuts, flax seeds, and algal oils. However, these plant-based omega-3s are primarily in the form of ALA, which must be converted in the body to the most usable forms of EPA and DHA. If your body's in a state of inflammation, it's going to really have trouble converting the ALA to EPA and DHA. So what kind of diet is ideal for your bone health? A disease-fighting diet is one that contains the entire spectrum of nutrients the human body needs. Diets that include ancestral food groups, mostly meat, high-quality meat, set us up to avoid nutrient deficiencies that can lead to degeneration of health. And of course, the nutrients listed in this video are not the only ones found. They're not only found in animal products, so you can find them in some plants, but you definitely want to have a full spectrum of high-quality meats, fruits, and vegetables in order to keep your bones healthy for as long as you live. Again, I'm Nick with the Health Report. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something today about how to boost your bone health and stay healthy for longer.